Neighbor's mom invited me her real plan. The night it started, I was on my couch eating leftover Chinese and pretending I wasn't lonely. That's when someone knocked on my door like they were afraid of committing to it. 3 light taps, a pause, then one more. It was my neighbor's mom. Tyler lived across the hall, early 20s, headphones permanently welded to his skull. His mom, Melissa, had just started staying over more. Divorce, I guessed. She had that tired but holding it together look a lot of people in my apartment complex wore. "Hey," she said, smiling like we were already in on a joke together. "Sorry to bother you. You got a minute?" I stepped back to let her in, because I'm apparently incapable of saying no to anyone who smiles and smells like expensive shampoo. She didn't come in, though. She stayed in the doorway and tilted her head toward her place. "Actually, could you come over for a bit? I wanted to ask you something, kind of private." When someone says kind of private in a hallway that smells like burnt popcorn and weed, your brain goes straight to weird places. Mine did anyway. But out loud I said, sure. Let me put on some shoes that aren't these." I glanced down at my socks. One had a hole in the toe. Great start. Her apartment was the same layout as mine, but somehow warmer. Candles going, soft yellow lamps, a throw blanket that hadn't been bought from the clearance bin. A single wine glass sat on the coffee table, half full. Tyler's room door was closed, light shining under it, faint bass leaking through. "Make yourself at home," she said, which is what people say right before they watch exactly how you sit and judge you for it. I picked the far end of the couch. She took the middle. "So," she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, "I really appreciate you coming over. I needed to talk to someone who isn't involved." "Involved in what?" I asked. She looked toward Tyler's door, then back at me. A little smile, small and sly. "My son, his dad, me. Just all of it. And you're, what, 24? 26, I said. "God, that's still so young," she said, almost to herself. "I was 21 when Anyway, I wanted a young man's perspective. Fresh eyes." That phrasing sat in the air between us like a fourth person. She refilled her glass, offered me some. I said yes, because it felt rude not to, even though I'm more of a beer and ugly mug guy. "So," she said, curling one leg under herself, facing me now, "when I was your age, I did something stupid, or brave. Depends who you ask." There it was, that glint. Like she was leading me into a story she'd rehearsed. "I lived in this crappy duplex with paper-thin walls," she went on. "Next door there was this guy, 19, always helping people carry groceries, fixing cars in the parking lot, too nice for his own good." She watched my face as she talked, like she was checking my reactions against some checklist. "I was young then, too," she said. "Young and bored and stuck with a man who treated me like furniture. So one day, I invited the kid over, told him I needed help with a secret project." She air-quoted it, eyes lingering on me. "And did he help?" I asked, because somebody had to. "Oh, he helped," she said, laughing softly. "I made it very clear what the secret was. I was young, he was young, and I wanted to seduce him, and he didn't refuse, not even for a second." Her voice dropped on that last line. She let it hang there, the picture painted and framed. I took a sip of wine I didn't like and tried not to picture 19-year-old him and 21-year-old her making bad decisions in some other crappy duplex. It didn't help that I lived in a crappy duplex right now, and I was technically the young guy. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. She shrugged one bare shoulder, the strap of her tank top slipping a little. Not an accident. Perspective. Men your age think with parts they pretend they're not thinking with. I'm wondering if that's still true. "Sometimes we use our brains," I said. "Not often, but we try." She smiled at that, slow. Right. So here's the question. Back then, was he wrong for not refusing? Or was I wrong for asking? Her eyes didn't leave my face. I could feel the test in it. Depends, I said finally. Were you married? Unfortunately, she replied, to a man who thought monogamy was a group project. So you were wrong, I said. He was dumb and 19. She laughed. You say dumb like you weren't 26 once. I am 26 now. Exactly, she said. You're still in the dumb zone. The joke landed, but under it was something sharper. She shifted closer, close enough that I could smell the wine on her breath, the citrus of her perfume. You know why I really asked you over? She said. I'm starting to suspect it wasn't for a survey about ethics, I said. She bit her lip, like she was trying not to smile. You're not wrong, but it's not what you think. Not exactly. She leaned back and looked at the ceiling for a second, like she was checking with an imaginary therapist. Tyler's dad, she said, is suddenly very interested in being Father of the Year. Not because he cares, because I finally took him to court for child support. Now he's acting like I'm some unfit mother. Says I bring strange men home. Says it's not a good environment. He actually said strange men, I asked. Oh, yeah. He rehearsed it in the mirror, she said. The thing is, he's not entirely wrong. I have dated. I'm allowed to. But the court doesn't know the difference between a woman having a life and a woman being reckless. She looked at me again, eyes steady. So, here's the secret purpose. I need an alibi, a narrative. I blinked. For what? I just met you. I don't even know your middle name. Lynn, she said automatically. Look, I already told my lawyer I have a stable neighbor. Young, responsible, no criminal record. Wow, you did background on me? You work 9 to 5, never have parties, and your Amazon packages are always boring. Of course I checked. She moved a little closer. Our knees almost touched. If you'd be willing to say we've been seeing each other, even casually, that you're around, that Tyler's got a positive male influence, it would help. A lot. So you want me to pretend we're together, I said slowly. Her hand landed on my arm, light but deliberate. Unless you want to actually be together, I'm flexible. She said it lightly, but her thumb was tracing circles on my skin, and the meaning wasn't light at all. Here's the thing no one tells you. Temptation doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like a warm room when you've been cold for a long time. I'd been in this city 6 months. No family within 1,000 miles. My last relationship ended over FaceTime with, "You're a nice guy," but I spent most nights with takeout and shows I pretended to care about. So, when an attractive woman sat close enough for our thighs to almost touch and basically said, "You could have this," my brain didn't go noble. It went quiet. "Melissa," I said, and my voice didn't sound like mine. "This is complicated." "It doesn't have to be," she murmured. She shifted even closer. Her knee pressed against mine now. Her hand slid a little higher on my arm. Up close, I could see the faint lines around her eyes, the kind you only get from laughing and crying too much. "Don't overthink it," she said. "You're young. I'm young enough, and I'm asking. This time, you don't even have to lie about it. We help each other. That's fair, isn't it?" The room seemed smaller. The hum of Tyler's music through the wall felt louder. "You told me that story," I said, "about the 19-year-old. Has it ever bugged you? The power difference?" "I was only 2 years older," she said quickly. "Sure," I said, "but you were the married one, the one in control." Her face flickered at the word control. "I'm not controlling you," she said. "I'm offering you something. You can say no." She leaned in, close enough that I could feel her breath on my cheek. My body did that thing where it answered before my brain did. Heart up, lungs shallow, heat rushing to all the dumb parts. I thought about a lot of things in a very short time. How Tyler called me man in the hallway, all casual. How this would nuke any chance of being just his neighbor. How her ex would spin it. How it would look. Some 26-year-old guy sleeping with a stressed-out single mom in the apartment across the hall. Mostly, I thought about waking up the next morning and hating myself. I pulled back. "Melissa," I said. And this time my voice was mine again, steadier. "I can help you in court. I'll tell the truth. That you're a good mom, that Tyler's safe, but I can't add that other part." Her hand dropped from my arm like someone cut the strings. "You can't?" she said flatly. "I won't," I corrected. "There's a difference." Her expression hardened, shuddering like someone flipped a switch. The next morning, the hallway felt different. Same flickering light, same stale popcorn smell, but the air had weight. Tyler opened his door just as I was locking mine. Hoodie, backpack, one earbud in. "Hey, man," he said, but the word man was sharper today. "Hey," I answered. "You heading out?" "Yeah." He adjusted his backpack, eyes skimming past me. "My mom said you were over last night." "Yeah," I said slowly. "She wanted to talk about the custody stuff." He laughed once, no humor in it. "That what she told you?" "What did she tell you?" I asked. He shrugged. "Just that I should maybe keep my distance. That you're not the kind of guy she thought you were." It hit like someone dumped a bucket of cold water down my spine. "She said I came on to her," he went on, still not looking directly at me. "That you got the wrong idea and she had to shut it down. Said you were pushy." My first instinct was to knock on her door and start yelling. My second instinct was to move to another state. I didn't either. "That's not what happened," I said quietly. He finally looked at me. For a second, I saw the kid behind the attitude, the panic of having adults behave like villains in a story you didn't ask to be in. "Does it matter?" he asked. "Court's gonna believe whatever story they want anyway. Just don't make my life messier, okay?" He walked away before I could answer. After work, I saw Melissa in the parking lot, loading groceries into her trunk. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just gave me a nod that said we were now co-workers who hated each other. "You told him I hit on you," I said, keeping my voice low. She didn't stop packing. "I told him there was a misunderstanding," she said, "that you read too much into things." "You tried to kiss me," I said. She shut the trunk hard enough to make the car bounce. "No one's going to believe the sad little neighbor boy turned me down," she said, finally facing me. "Do you hear how that sounds?" "It sounds true," I said. She shook her head. "Truth doesn't matter in court. Stories do. I needed a clean one. You wouldn't cooperate." "So, you made me the creep," I said. Her jaw clenched. For a second, she looked like she might apologize. Then it was gone. "I made myself look like a responsible mother," she said. "You're a grown man. You'll survive a little awkwardness." She got in the car and drove off, leaving me standing there with the world's worst participation trophy. Technically moral, socially screwed. Life didn't explode after that. It just sagged. Tyler stopped knocking on my door to ask if I'd seen his package deliveries. He stopped asking me if I wanted anything from Taco Bell when he went on late-night runs. We became 2 doors and some shared drywall, nothing more. Melissa was still around, just on a different channel. She passed me in the hall with polite small talk, the kind strangers use in elevators. I heard her laughing on the phone sometimes, voice bright and sharp, and wondered which version of herself the person on the other end was getting. A week later, I saw her in the courtyard, talking to some guy in a button-down and khakis. Lawyer energy. He shook my hand, said my name like he already knew it. "Melissa says you're a great neighbor," he said. "Very stable presence. That's going to help her case." I looked at her. She held my gaze, daring me to ruin the script. "Yeah?" I said eventually. "She's a good mom. Tyler's safe with her." Which was true. Messy, manipulative, dangerous in her own way. But she cared about the kid. Maybe that's what made it all worse. That night, I sat on my couch, same leftover Chinese, same crappy show auto-playing. The whole thing replayed in my head. The invitation, the couch, her hand on my arm, the way my body had leaned in like it had its own brain. I kept thinking about that 19-year-old she told me about, the one from when she was young. How, in her version, he didn't refuse, and that made everything simple. No moral puzzle. Just a bad decision they both agreed to call fun. If I'd said yes, things would have been clearer in a twisted way. I'd be the guy who slept with his neighbor's mom, the villain in someone's coming-of-age story, the punchline at parties. At least there'd be a label. Instead, I said no, and I got turned into a different kind of villain. A creep, a problem, a complication she had to manage. I grew up thinking doing the right thing came with some kind of receipt. Gold star, clean conscience. But sitting there with cold lo mein in a quiet apartment, it didn't feel like that. It felt like I'd traded one disaster for another and still ended up smelling like smoke. Sometimes I hear Tyler's door open late at night, his footsteps in the hall, his mom's voice drifting through the wall. I wonder if he'll ever ask what really happened. I wonder if I'd even tell him, or if I'd just leave it alone so he can keep the mom he thinks he has. Did I do the right thing by not giving in? On my good days, I say yes. On my bad days, I think about how warm her hand was on my arm, and how easy it would have been to be the kind of man she expected me to be. Most days, I just lock my door, put my dishes in the sink, and try not to think about it at all. Life goes on, even when you're not sure you deserve the version you picked.